Hi guys, it's Lorelei or Maddie, and today I'm reading chapter 26 of #Murder Trending by Gretchen McNeil. Let's get right into it. Dee wasn't sure what she had been expecting. A wall of total darkness, a giant hulk of a prison with iron bars and walkways, or a corridor lined with giant chainsaws. Any of those things would have been expected on Alcatraz 2.0, but instead Dee just saw a hallway, normal, old-fashioned, homey. It was well lit with bell-shaped overhead fixtures and doors peeled off in opposite directions every 10 to 12 feet. The floor was blanketed with blue and gray industrial carpet, and weirdest of all, the walls were papered with white with lavender flowers. Lilacs, maybe? Hyacinth? Dee was shitty at botany. Looks like my grandma's house in Jersey. Ethan sniffed the air. Smells like it too. Wet newspaper and BO. This smells familiar, Dee said as she gazed down the hallway. Like something from a dream. Like from a dream or something. combining words over here. Like from a dream or something. Your dreams suck. Thanks? A red light flickered to life inside a domed lens at the far end of the hall, and immediately two figures stepped into view beneath it. They were wearing matching powder blue dresses with knee-high socks and bandit masks, and they were holding hands, the Hardy girls. Suddenly the weird hallway made sense. The psychopathic sister act was dressed as the ghostly Grady girls, and they were standing in a recreation from the Overlook Hotel from The Shining. We're so screwed, Dee breathed. Play with us, Dee Dee, they sang in sing-song unison. Forever and ever and ever. Come at me, bro, Ethan yelled, extinguisher hose in hand. But the Hardy girls didn't move. Instead, Dee heard what sounded like a small engine revving in the distance. The sound got louder, closer, and two objects rolled around the corner, immediately followed by two more. They looked like old-fashioned big wheel trikes. Each with a blue plastic seat, a red body, metal handlebars, two fat wheels in the back, and a single larger one in the front. They were toys built for a child, but no 5-year-old sat in the driver's seat. Instead, each trike seemed to pedal on its own accord by remote control as they raced down the hall toward Dee and Ethan. That's it, Ethan laughed, letting his guard down. That's all you've got? Dee had to admit it did seem rather ludicrous that the Hardy girls were sending a legion of remote-controlled kitty toys their way, but she also knew that underestimating one of the Paniacs was the fastest way to dead. But since every single one of the cameras in the hallway had shifted its focus onto the oncoming trikes, the toys had to be more dangerous than they looked. Stay away from them, Dee cried, backing away. Why? The big wheels were halfway down the hall, closing in fast. They can't hurt. Without warning, one of the big wheels veered sharply to the left and headed to the left and crashed headlong into the wall. At the instant of impact, the toy bike exploded. It was so violent the hallway shook, and Dee could feel the reverberations in the air. Holy shit! Ethan scampered down the hall right on Dee's heels. They rounded the corner and jumped onto the counter just as a second big wheel misjudged the turn and crashed into the wall of lockers. Twisted metal ricocheted toward them, and Dee and Ethan had to roll onto the floor behind the counter to keep from getting skewered. "This counter won't protect us from those explosives," Dee said. They so didn't have time for this. Somewhere in this building, Niles and Griselda were about to drown while she was playing hide-and-seek with a couple of highly explosive kitty toys. The remote control engines revved again. The last 2 trikes were coming for them. "I didn't think I'd go out like this," Ethan mused, hiding from a big wheel. Dee spotted the camera directly overhead. The dome had been shattered and hit by shrapnel from the exploding lockers, which meant, for the time being at least, no one could see them. "You're not going to die here." Her focus shifted to the door leading out from behind the counter. It probably opened back into the hallway, but at least it would give them the element of surprise. It was a chance they'd have to take. "Come on." She grabbed Ethan by the arm and yanked the door open. Instead of the creepy recreation of the Overlook Hotel, the door opened into a tight, dark passageway. Dee shoved Ethan through and had just squeezed in behind him when one of the trikes careened into the lobby counter. The force of the explosion slammed the door closed behind her, throwing them into total darkness. 3 down, 1 to go, and Dee and Ethan were pressed between a smooth metal wall of the old brig and wooden beams that supported some kind of structure on the other side. "That must be the hallway," Dee whispered, her eyes adjusting to the lack of light. "We're behind the set." "Cool." Dee kept her hand on Ethan's arm as he edged forward. She held her breath, listening for the last big wheel engine, but it was eerily quiet. Had the postman or whoever was directing the scene lost track of them? The set ended before a towering metal door, which swung open easily at Ethan's touch. They stepped through, and Dee thought they must have taken a wrong turn. "Is this the same hallway?" Ethan asked. This set was identical to the last one. Same wallpaper, same carpeting, same ceiling lights, same camera placement, except there was no sign of the explosive first trike explosion the first trike had made when it had blown away a section of the wall. Just smooth, unembellished lilac and white wallpaper. "I don't think so." "But those are the same chicks, right?" Dee spun around. The Hardy girls were back, standing side by side at the end of the hallway, standing side by side at the end of the hallway, just as before. Only this time they each wielded a red-handled axe. "Play with us, Dee Dee." In the distance, Dee could hear a high-pitched hum of a toy engine. The last remote-controlled trike was coming up behind them. They were trapped. "Screw this." Ethan opened the valve on the fire extinguisher. "I ain't got time to bleed." He bolted forward, spraying the Hardy girls with foam. It squirted from the hose in a fine stream, but seemed to expand on impact, coating the carpet with a sticky mess as Ethan waved the hose around. "Aim for the cameras," Dee cried, hoping the foam would obscure the shot. Ethan obeyed, spraying the ceiling haphazardly. The Hardy girls looked momentarily stunned, and Ethan was practically on top of them when they finally jolted into action. The taller sister gripped her axe with both hands, held it up over her head, and charged, but Ethan was faster and more agile. As she swung the axe down at his head, he flipped the canister from beneath his arms, catching the blade with it. The axe dug into the metal and stuck there as the pressure from inside the canister raced out through the gap. The extinguisher and axe, now a symbiotic being, flew from Ethan's hands and crashed into the wall. Ethan lunged for the axe handle as the canister spun around on the floor like a wheel of fireworks, the hose lashing out in all directions as it slowly lost pressure. But the carpet was slick with foam. Ethan lost his balance and went sprawling, sliding into the wall. The shorter Hardy girl lost no time. Like her sister, she swung the axe over her head, letting out a blood-curdling scream as she attacked. Dee didn't even have time to think. The slippery floor reminded her of a childhood toy, the old slip and slide her dad would set up on the lawn. She could cover more ground sliding headfirst down the grass than running across it. Dee took several long strides towards Ethan's assailant, then dove forward on her stomach. She slid 10 feet, barreling into the Hardy girl's legs and like a bowling ball, taking out the last pin for a spare. That's funny, because there's two of them. The Hardy girl face planted into the floor, breaking her fall with the razor-sharp axe, which embedded itself into the plywood below the carpet. Dee rolled on her side, stopping her momentum in time to see the other sister lunge at her, but Ethan was on his feet. He grabbed Dee's assailant around the waist, hurled her down the hallway. Damn, okay. Dee had known Ethan was strong, but she wasn't sure she'd realized how strong. He tossed that serial killer like she was a rag doll. She seemed to hang suspended, arms and legs spread eagle, mouth snarled up with pure hatred. But just as the final big wheel rounded the corner and accelerated towards them, there was no way Ethan could have known that the explosive-laden toy would arrive at that moment. Even the airborne Hardy girl didn't seem to process her situation immediately. She hit the floor with a thud and had time to sit up and see the trike pedaling toward her before impact. Smoke filled the fake hallway as the force of the explosion rocked its foundation, knocking Ethan to his knees, which was a good thing because bits and pieces of the detonated Hardy girl went flying in every direction. One of her hands grazed Ethan's cheek before smacking into the wall. A final assault, even in death. All that was left of her was a bloody, charred blob on the floor, a few severed limb fragments, and a splatter of tissue on the lilac-covered walls. Dee blinked, her eyes watering with the smoke-filled air, and rolled on her side, fully expecting to see the glint of an axe blade as the other sister dove at her. But the smoke cleared, and all Dee could see in the devastation of the extinguisher foam and body parts was Ethan, slowly climbing to his feet. The other sister and her weapon had vanished. And that is the end of chapter 26. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.